Folks are coming in. There we go. Just waiting for that number to jump. Good evening, everyone. We are expecting over 100 guests this evening for tonight's webinar, so bear with us as we allow everyone to come into our Zoom session. We'll be getting started at about 6:01, 6:02. Still steadily climbing. For those just joining us, we're waiting for everybody to be able to enter the Zoom. We're expecting about a little over 100 people this evening, so bear with us as we allow everyone to get into our Zoom session. Okay, we're still climbing a little bit. Awesome. Okay, we've paused. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Lindberg. I am the Director of First Year Admission here at the University of Mary Washington. I'm excited to welcome you to a webinar all about orientation. With that being said, I will go ahead and turn it over to tonight's key presenter, Dean Melissa Jones. Dean Jones, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Thanks everyone for joining us. We are excited to welcome you in just a few days, for many of you, to orientation. So, just before we get started, I'm going to let you know a little bit about who I am. My name is Melissa Jones. I am the Dean of Students and the Associate Vice President of Student Affairs here at Mary Washington. In that capacity, I oversee student activities and engagement, but also new student programs and orientation. So, along with some friends and some helpers, I'm going to talk you through some of the logistics for our webinar before we begin with information about um, orientation and any of those other pieces. Before we get started with a little housekeeping, I want to let you know who's going to be helping us to support the process tonight, as well as the orientation experience when you arrive in a few weeks. And so I am going to open it up to those folks to introduce themselves. And you can actually see their names on the slide. So we're going to turn it over.
Hi, everyone. My name is Celia Dupuis, and I am one of the coordinators for orientation this summer. And during the year, I actually work in student activities and engagement, and I'm in charge of the Presidential Emerging Leaders Program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Faith Jones. I'm also a coordinator for orientation over the summer.
Hello, I am Siobhan Stanley, and I am the last coordinator for orientation for the summer.
Thank you all so much. Faith, Shvan, and Celia will be answering questions in the chat, in the Q&A, if you have any questions. So one of the first things I want to do from a housekeeping standpoint is to let you know that if you'd like to turn on captions, there is a closed caption button at the bottom of your Zoom screen. So we are in the webinar mode of Zoom. So unless you're a panelist, you're automatically muted and your video is automatically off. So you don't have to worry about that. But the webinar is set up as a presentation with a live Q&A. We are recording this session for later viewing, so if you missed something, you will have an opportunity to view it later, and it will be available on the admissions YouTube as soon as possible. So in that Q&A box, we might answer your question during the presentation, but if you do have a question, feel free to add it to that Q&A box whenever the mood strikes you. If someone asks a question in the Q&A box and you have the same question, you have the ability to upvote by liking that question, and it will move it up in the queue. It will bring it towards the top if you've never been in webinar mode. I'd like to make sure that you know what to expect. We're not going to answer as many questions out loud right out of the gate, just so that we get through everything. But you can look for questions to be answered in that Q&A box by Faith, Siobhan, and Celia, so that you can get your answers as quickly as possible. If we have time at the end, we may go back and answer some that were particularly popular, but we just want to make sure that you know kind of what to expect. So now that our housekeeping is out of the way, let's get started. And we'll talk to you a little bit about tonight's agenda. So for tonight's agenda, we're going to talk to you about orientation, and also about what to expect. What is the program itself? We'll talk a little bit more about how you can prepare for orientation. Parking is always a big question mark, and so we're going to talk to you about parking and checking in. And we're going to do a full overview of the schedule for first year orientation. And then we'll actually talk to you a little bit about what to expect after orientation as well. So we've got a lot to cover, and we want to make sure that, again, we get all those excellent questions answered. So about orientation. So the first thing that we think is important for you to know is that it's a little bit different from Destination UMW. Destination UMW was an admitted student day. And so one of the things that we want you to know that we'll be doing a little bit of a deeper dive during orientation is that we're going to have some programming specifically for students, but we'll also have programming specifically for parents and guests. How to support your student. What does their summer look like? What does their fall look like? What are some of the things that you need to know? We weren't covering those things as much in Destination UMW, so here's where we'll get a little bit more into the nuts and bolts. Certainly everybody gets acquainted with campus resources during their time at orientation. And we also hope that everyone creates connections with other New Eagles and then other New Eagle family and guests. And then we'll also start to navigate next steps to get ready for the fall. So that's really what's happening during orientation. So it's a little bit different from the admitted students day, where we were kind of laying some general things out for you. This is a little bit more detailed for you. So what to expect generally? First year orientation at UMW is a day and a half experience. And so there is an overnight component. And it doesn't matter if you are living on campus or off campus in the fall. We do want you to stay overnight on campus for the one night, in part because we do want you to experience all of the campus and learn a little bit more about what it has to offer and how you will navigate it. And so there are some important pieces that we want to make sure that we cover. So even if you're planning on commuting in the fall, come join us for the one night on campus. We do ask that you check in by 8:30 or 8:45. I will let you know that we'll run that check-in until 9 a.m., but traffic can be traffic in Virginia. And so we want to be really thoughtful about what that means for you. And programming will end on day 2 at around noon. There is some optional programming after that. I'll go into it a little bit later, but we just want a general overview of what to expect. Excuse me. With respect to food, we want to make sure that you know. Again, day 1, we'll have some snacks for breakfast, some light pastries. Lunch and dinner will be full meals provided. And then for students, there is also a late night snack available that we will do for you. So lunch and dinner will be heavier meals, and we will have coffee throughout the day. So if you want to pick up your Wawa coffee, if that's what you want to do, you certainly can, but know that we will have that here for you. Day 2, guests have light pastries provided for their morning, because a lot of our guests will choose to get something at their hotel, or if they're just kind of driving in, they might get something at home. Students, since you will have spent the night, you will have a full hot breakfast here. So we want to make sure that you, again, know that. Again, there'll be coffee at each of these spaces, but we want to make sure that you know what to expect in terms of food and can manage that for yourself in whatever way makes sense. So, how to prepare for orientation? For our guests, one of the things that we encourage you to do if you are not close enough to drive in is to make overnight accommodations if you don't live within driving distance. On the orientation website, there is a list of local hotels that are available, a lot of the preferred spaces where a lot of parents have stayed in years past and have good things to say. So you can find that list of hotels. I will tell you there is at least one or two that might be within walking distance. Even if you choose to stay in one of those spaces, I do encourage you to drive in for that morning. It's just a little bit easier with your student who may be bringing things to stay overnight, right? So we just want to make sure that that's really thoughtful. But you'll be here all day. And lots of folks don't feel like walking back at the end of the day. And so even if you're staying at, for instance, the Hyatt Place, encourage you to drive in to Double Drive. It's a very easy drive, and we have plenty of parking available for you. Please know that UMW offices will be open during regular business hours. And so if there's any services that you feel like you need to take advantage of, we are open typical business hours on the days of orientation. So students, how can you prepare for orientation? The first thing that we're going to ask you to do is to make sure you know your net ID and your password. And so each of you has been given and assigned a net ID, and it's essentially the first portion of your email. My net ID, for instance, is mjones6, and then my email is at umw.edu. So what you're going to need that for is almost every one of our systems is going to use your net ID and then the password that you set up for that net ID. And you are asked to change that password every 90 days. And so recommend that before you come to orientation, you know what that net ID and that password is. If you cannot remember those things, you can contact our IT help desk in advance, and they can help you to navigate that. But as we start to talk about your schedule and we talk about getting into what is your portal, you will need that net ID and you will need that password. And so that's a great thing for you to have prior to your arrival on campus. It's also really a good idea to get in the habit of checking your UMW email account. Up until orientation, one of the things that has happened is that most of the correspondence has been sent to your personal email account via admissions. And admissions may be in a space of sending things to your personal email and to your UMW email account. But the UMW email is the primary way that everyone from here on in is really going to communicate with you. So we don't want you to miss any critical information. And we want to make sure you get in the habit of checking that UMW email account every day or two. Again, that's where the primary communication is going to come for you. What to pack for orientation? We're going to suggest that you pack some linens, whatever that looks like for you. That might be towels, sheets, blankets, pillows, whatever you're sleeping, whatever you need to sleep. Some folks just bring sleeping bags and they are perfectly fine with that. I would still suggest bringing a pillow for yourself and towels if you feel like you will want to take a shower. Virginia in June is very hot sometimes. And so you may want to take a shower while you are here, and that is perfectly fine. Just bring some towels and whatever toiletries you feel like you need for that. Bathrooms will be available. They'll be clean. They'll be ready to go for you. And so again, just be thoughtful about what it is you need to feel comfortable with. A lot of people will bring their stuffed animals. That's perfectly fine. We see that happening a whole heck of a lot. Whatever you need to make sure that you are comfortable for the night. There is not a dress code for orientation. We just want you to have comfortable clothing and shoes. You're going to be doing a fair amount of moving from place to place, and a fair amount of that will be outdoors. And so be comfortable. And if that means that you are in your sneakers and shorts, then that's perfectly fine. Please don't feel like you need to dress up for anything that's going to happen here. You got plenty of time for that when you get in the fall, if that's your vibe. We just want you to be comfortable here. Any toiletries you need to feel comfortable. Again, love it. Bring your toothbrush, toothpaste, all those things that you would normally have. But again, if you feel like I'm definitely a person who's gonna want to shower a couple of times, have at it. Because we are in Fredericksburg, Virginia, sometimes the weather can turn on a dime, and we're not sure exactly what that's going to look like. And so we do recommend maybe some sunscreen or some rain boots. Check ahead to the forecast because again, we're still going to be moving from place to place. If it looks like it's going to rain, if you check the forecast and they're calling for any amount of rain, maybe pack an umbrella, those types of things. For your Eagle One, your driver's license or government ID, if your ID is one of those things that you're going to want to pick up, and just so I'm very clear, the Eagle One is your school ID. In order to get that, you do have to have your driver's license or a government issued ID to receive that and to pick it up. So if you're going to want to pick that up, make sure you bring a driver's license or a government ID for that. And then just bring a good attitude. This is an opportunity for you to get to know your new space, your new campus, and a lot of people who you're going to be spending a fair amount of time with as you navigate your time at Mary Washington. So bring a good attitude. A little bit about where to park. One of the things, this is just a pro tip for you. Mary Washington, the entire campus has one address, and it's 1301 College Avenue. To clarify that for your GPS, whether that's Google or Waze or anything, type double drive into it, and you will be brought to exactly the right place on day one that you need to park. When you arrive, everyone parks in the George Washington parking lot. The UMW PD will be there to direct you for your next steps. And so I'd like to make sure that folks know how to get there and not get caught up in the 1301 of it all. So just drop in double drive. For day two, guess your parking is a little bit different, but we're going to give that instruction at orientation because it'll make a little bit more sense to you when you're in there. So the morning of orientation, we're going to tell you about your parking for the next day. Students, if you are coming and driving yourself to orientation, you just leave your car in this exact same spot for day one and day two. But guess your parking will be a little bit different, and we're going to put you a little bit closer to the venue that you will be spending most of your morning and day two in. So student and guest check-in, we run that from 7:30 to 8:45. That is in Willard Hall. That is a residence hall that is in the center of campus. So you're going to park a little bit further out and then either walk or we can golf cart you down to check-in. When you arrive for that check-in, go ahead and bring your linens, your towels, sheets, blankets, luggage, anything that you want for that overnight component. Bring that to check-in because what will happen is that you will check in, and then we'll send you to get your room key, which is just a few feet from check-in, and you'll be able to put that stuff down pretty immediately in your space. If there's someone that you want to room with, we ask that you check in together. So if I'm showing up and I know that I want to room with Celia, then and I get there first, then I'll just wait for Celia to arrive, and then we can check in together, and that's how we get placed in a room together. For everyone else, we just kind of place you in rooms as you come in. Again, you'll be able to take your items to your room, leave them there pretty immediately. And so those are the key pieces. I know some of you will have some folks that you're ready to room with, and so just wait for them to arrive. Try to coordinate it so you're arriving at the same time. And so now we're going to go over a little bit in terms of the schedule overview. So the first thing that we've talked a little bit about arrival. You're going to park in GW, and then we're going to do a student and guest check-in. Our program starts at 9 o'clock, and so that's part of the reason that we're saying we probably need to have you checked in by 8:45. Please be aware of traffic, particularly coming from Richmond and from Northern Virginia. If you're coming from those spaces, we do know that traffic can get a little bit dicey. And so you might leave exactly right on time, but if you run into a wall of traffic, you might be a little bit late. And so we're going to do that check-in at Willard Hall. And at 9 o'clock, our program will start. We'll do a little bit of a welcome and we'll do a schedule overview. And you'll be greeted by some folks to talk about what to expect over the course of the day. After that, the partnership will begin. We're going to talk to you a little bit about what to expect in the first year experience, very specifically. Um, After that, students, you're going to depart for about 4 hours that are separate from your guest. And that is by design and intentional. And I'm going to go over the student schedule first. So and then I'll circle back and go over the guest schedule. So I'm going to go the student schedule from about 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock when you all reconvene. Students, you're going to go to success workshops. These are some workshops that are designed to introduce you little by little to the university community. So there might be a session on traditions. There may be a session on making connections on campus. And so being really thoughtful, clubs and organizations, how you can get involved. You're going to have 2 rounds of success workshops, and you're going to meet your orientation leader. Now, an orientation leader is a student who's a sophomore, junior, or a rising senior who has been specially trained to help to shepherd you through not only the orientation process in June, but also the rest of the summer. And so they are your orientation leader really for the remainder of the summer until you arrive here in August. They have been training since March for your arrival. They are here on campus training right now for your arrival as well. And so there are going to be about 100 and 1,520 of you each session. That's a really big number. We put you in smaller groups of about 10 to 12 so that you get to know a smaller group of people and you are connected with an orientation leader. And that's when you're going to meet them at 10 o'clock and they're going to take you to your success workshops. Following that, you'll have a little bit of time with them as again, and then we're going to have some lunch on the first floor of the Cedric Rucker University Center. Following that, they are going to talk you through a little bit about summer homework. Now, there are some things that we ask you to complete prior to your arrival in August. And so your orientation leader is going to walk you through what is the expectation for summer homework and what are some of the deadlines and what are just some of the important things that we don't want to get missed. And so following that, you'll come back to Dot Auditorium, and that's when you'll rejoin your guests if you have a guest here. I'm going to put a pin in that, and we're going to go back to 10 o'clock. What does it look like for guests? Guests, you will have a session with me and with Dr. Nguyen, who is the director of the first year experience. And we're going to talk to you about being a step ahead of your student right now in terms of what does their summer look like. These are all the things that your students are going to get over the course of their day and a half, but we're going to walk you through it a little bit early so that you know what to expect. You'll also have time with our chief of police, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about campus safety so you can get your questions answered there. You will go to lunch with the other parents, guests, families at a different part of the Cedric Rucker University Center for lunch. And then when you come back at 1 o'clock, we're going to talk about how our partnership is continuing and do a deeper dive into the first year experience. What do those first 6 weeks look like? What can you expect? How can you support your student? And we are going to review summer homework with you. It's important that your student knows it. And it's also important that you know a little bit more about what their summer homework looks like. Following that, we will have everyone reconvene at about 1:50, and we're going to go over as a collective some academic expectations. And so our Dean of Advising is going to talk you through what are the academic expectations, what are some of the things you need to be thoughtful about, and then how do you prepare for July at advising. Following that, for students who plan on living on campus in the fall, there is a session for on-campus housing. And for students who plan on living off campus in the fall, perhaps they're living at home or in the community, there is a session for off-campus residents because there's things that we think both of those populations need to know, and they're slightly different. Following that at about 3:15, that's when we start our concurrent sessions. And we call this a choose your own adventure. It's really happening from 3:15 to about 5 o'clock. So making sure that you all know that we've got some drop-in sessions, particularly from 3:15 to 3:45. We have some sessions that are available this entire time, 3:15 to 5 o'clock. And so I'll go through those very quickly. Soaring through your finances, and that's when student accounts and financial aid will be there to be able to have some one-on-one times with you if that's something that you're looking forward to, or you feel like you have some questions for those offices. You can drop in anytime between 3:15 and 5 o'clock. We will also have open time with campus recreation and the gym if that's something you feel like you want to take advantage of. All about food. We're going to talk tips on dining. The campus bookstore will certainly be open, and then you can get your Eagle One card during that time. So you can see 3:15 to 5. You can drop in any of those sessions. From 3:15 to 4:45, we've got some more targeted drop-in sessions. And so you can find your place through specialty program. You heard Celia introduce herself as the leadership assistant. She oversees the Presidential Emerging Leaders Program. You'll have an opportunity to find out a little bit more about what that is about. Also, our Impact program, our Rise Peer Mentorship program, our Soft Landings program, they will all have tables that you can drop in at and get some more information to see if that's a good fit for you. And then for our families of recruited student athletes, an opportunity to meet the athletics administration. And so that is very specific for that population. And for our recruited varsity athletes, an opportunity to meet your coach. And your coach is going to reach out if they're available during that time. They will reach out to you and make sure that you know where that is. It's going to be various locations. For those of you who are like, I just need a little bit of downtime to reconnect and debrief with my student, if I'm a guest, or if I'm the student to debrief with my guests, opportunity for you to do that from 3:15 to 3:45 before we go into our try it on sessions. At 3:45, that's when we start our try it on sessions, 3:45 to 4:15 and 4:25 to 4:55. And so these are round robins. This is where you can explore a little bit more about how you build your academic toolkit using peer support, how you support student mental health. We know that that's a thing that's top of mind for many of our students as well as their families and guests. And so we'll talk about self-care, and our Tally Center for Counseling Services will be available to talk with you about what they offer. Study abroad will have a program during that time. And then if you are taking advantage of the GI Bill or VA benefits, then we will have a session on that. And we'll certainly have a time about making the most of your life at Mary Washington. Our Career and Professional Development Center will have a session. And how to get involved outside of the classroom. We know that students who are involved in co-curricular activity outside the classroom are more likely to graduate with a higher GPA and more likely to graduate on time. So what are the opportunities here at Mary Washington for those students? And then we have some pre-health advising and pre-health course of study if you want to find out more about that. That is certainly available for folks during that time. For our try it on sessions, round 2, 4:25 to 4:55, you'll see a lot of replication. So if you didn't get to catch it during 3:45 to 4:15, then we have some replication that's happening in that second round. But we also will feature our Office of Disability Resources will be available there. And our Call Me Mister program, if you want to be a teacher, you can learn everything that you need to know about the Call Me Mister program. So I'd like to make sure that I'm highlighting those things. If you're interested in pre-health, we are only offering it from 3:45 to 4:15. And so I do like to make sure I'm calling attention to that as well. After that, 5 o'clock, everybody has dinner together in the top of our Cedric Rucker University Center. And then following that, that's when we split off again at around 6:15. So at 6:15, our guests will say goodbye to their student for the evening. But guests, we do offer a guest reception for you, sponsored by our Office of Student Affairs and our Office of University Advancement. And so we invite you to join us to decompress from your day as well, and have a beverage with some folks who you might be interested to meet. For students, we're going to ask that you meet your OL by the fountain because you have a night that is created for students by students, and that is called UMW Live. UMW Live is where we will have a little bit of an introduction. We will go through some scenarios that our students think it's important that you know and understand as you prepare for your transition. And again, this is created for students by students. And we'll talk a little bit about overnight conduct. And then we will have a choose your own adventure for evening activities, 8:15 to 10 o'clock for you. And that's where you can choose anything to go, any of these things to go to. You can drop into any or all of them. Our esports arena will be available. We'll have some Just Dance and karaoke, bingo, which is a very big deal at Mary Washington. You'll not just play bingo, but you can learn the call and response that happens. We'll certainly have coloring and bracelet making and some quiet spaces for folks. Pool table and air hockey, and you can paint your own tote bag. Board games, puzzles, outdoor games, golf cart tours. Really, the campus is yours to be able to explore. At 10 o'clock, you will meet your group, your OL group, for your t-shirt, and then you'll get your late night snack. And this is all about walking tacos. People love walking tacos. And so this is your time to really connect with campus and with other New Eagles. And so the next morning, so then we all go back to the residence halls, and the next morning is when you check out. Your orientation leader is going to wake you up at about 6:45. And then we will do our checkout, and you don't have to keep your things with you. So we are going to let you bring your luggage. We will keep your luggage in one place so you don't have to haul it around with you all that day. And then we'll have a Q&A breakfast with some current students, and you'll be able to ask your questions that you might have in a space without your family or guests, etc. So they might be things that are pretty explicit to what you'd like to know about what the student experience is. Following that, Dr. April Nguyen will make sure that you understand what to expect in terms of the academic trajectory of your summer. Each of you will have a July advising appointment, and there are some things that you can do to get ready for that. She's going to walk you through that. Just so you all are aware, we are building your schedules right now based on the questionnaire that you answered when you deposited. And so we're building a sample schedule right now. It's going to get dropped into your portal, be available early next week. And then your advisor will talk you through that. And as of August 1st, you'll be able to make some changes on that. So it's not set in stone, but again, we will walk you through what to expect in that advising appointment. At noon, you'll wrap up with your OL group and you'll catch up with your guests. Guests, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what your morning looks like because you won't see your student until about noon. You're going to have a continental breakfast and then a campus resource fair available to you that morning until about 8:50. And then there's a session on first year fundamentals. And this is one of the sessions that guests tell us is one of the best sessions for them. That is where you will get to hear from some folks from the health center, from our Tally Center. You get your own student panel where you ask them questions that may embarrass your student if they were sitting there right beside you, but you get your questions answered from Real Talk with current students. And then we're going to talk to you specifically about some of the things that you can expect in the fall semester and how you navigate that on the guest and family support side, what resources are available to you. At noon, you can reconnect with your student, and that's the end of our formal program. And then at the end of that, there is some optional programming available for you. Some guided residence life tours of the residence halls. And then you can pick up your luggage. We do ask that you have your luggage picked up by about 1:30. But please be mindful that we are in a regular business day. And so there are open office hours for all offices across campus. So if you feel like you need to get some business done, you certainly can at that time. After orientation, you will be during orientation, you'll actually be added into an orientation group me for your orientation leader group. So if you haven't downloaded or you don't have the group me app downloaded, it's a good time to go ahead and pre-download that application. Just because, again, you're going to want to be able to communicate with your orientation leader and other people in your group over the course of the summer as questions come up. We know that this is a time where you'll be getting a day and a half of a lot of information. And so as you sit and think about it, you may have some questions that come up a week later or 2 weeks later. And the orientation group me is a great place for you to ask those questions. In addition, you will be added to an orientation Canvas page, and that's going to be full of resources and some roadmaps for you for the remainder of the summer. And so we'll add you to that page at the end of your day one so that you can access that. Following orientation, really immediately following orientation is when we will enter our one-on-one advising with students. And so each student will have a meeting with an advisor to be able to answer questions about their current schedule, what changes they may need to make, what are they thinking about in terms of next steps. And again, start to roadmap some pieces out for most of the students. That will be their first year seminar instructor. So they'll get an opportunity to have a first meeting with their first year seminar instructor as well. And then, of course, new student welcome. New student welcome is a 5-day program that will start August 19th. And it will run until that Sunday before the first day of class. It is an imperative program, not just for students who live on campus, but also for our commuting students to be able to prime them for what is to come in that first week of class. We know that this is going to be a little bit different, and it is leveling up and leveling into something that's a little bit more intensive. And so we want our students to be really primed for that appropriately. And so want to make sure that everybody is in attendance in those 5 days of new student welcome. So again, one of the things that will happen, again, this is, you can see a little bit about GroupMe here. Parents and guests, you will, many of you are already in the Eagle Family Connection from admissions, and you're just going to be migrated into a current Eagle Family Connection. And so you won't have to do anything, but now that now that your student has decided, yes, I'm coming to UMW, this is going to be great. If everyone in your family wants to join the Eagle Family Connection, they certainly can. So it does not just for parents, any and everybody can. And so we want to make sure that we can do that. And then I think you already heard me talk a little bit more about the GroupMe so that we can maintain communication. And again, this is kind of what your orientation Canvas page will look like. The summer homework will be living here as well. You'll get a hard copy of that. Your orientation leader will talk you through that, but then you can also find it on the Canvas page so you don't have to keep up with a paper copy. So any important information is also going to come through that Canvas page. You may get notifications over the course of the summer for things that you need to be thinking about. And so that's often going to come through that Canvas page. And you can set that up. Your orientation leader actually will help you to set that up so that it can come to your email when a new announcement comes in. And so July advising, that's where you'll again get to meet your first year seminar instructor for most of you. And As you view your schedule, as questions come up, it's a good idea for you to just kind of make notes of that. And then you can ask your advisor over the course of July advising. You don't have to remember everything here. That day 2 session is really going to prime you for what to expect in July advising. So Dr. Nguyen is going to make sure that you walk through that. Also, on your day 2, that's when you'll have your schedule in hand. And so you can ask some questions on that day too as well. So just some real quick notes about pre-arrival programs. The NEST program, which is an early arrival program for students, will be August 15th through 19th. And so anyone who has signed up for that will receive information for NEST. Many of our students who participate in that say it really gave them what they felt like was a leg up in terms of how they felt like they could acclimate to campus. So that's a very positive program. We're happy to tell you more about that. I believe there is a webinar if you want to find out a little bit more about that, that has already been pre-recorded and is available on the admissions page. Citius Text for those students who are enrolled in the honors program. They will move in on Sunday, August 16th, and will be here through the 19th. Your folks for honors will be communicating with you with respect to what that move-in looks like for you. For those programs, as well as soft landings, the student will move into their fall assignment. For orientation, you're not moving into your fall assignment. We don't know what your fall assignment is yet, but by the time you arrive here, if you're coming from one of these pre-arrival programs, then you will just move into your fall assignment if you're living on campus. Soft Landings is a program for students who identify on the autism spectrum and want to have a little bit of a more gentle entry into campus, depending on where they are in terms of their functioning on with ASD. And so we are happy to offer that. They will be moving in on August 15th as well. And so if you're interested in soft landings, you can reach out to either orientation or admissions, and we can get you connected to the right folks. And there is a previous webinar available for all of this. If it's sounding interesting to you now, you're just kind of becoming aware of it. And so again, you can look at the other webinar for more information. You can also find that during the first concurrent session, they will have a table as well. And then, of course, we have new student welcome. That's August 19th through the 23rd, and it is for on and off campus students. And again, we just want you to have as gentle an entry as possible and to set you up for a success before the first day of class. There are a lot of things that you will need to know. And a lot of things that you will need to do before that very first day of class. And so, so join us for that. And there are some things that if you don't attend, you will have to make them up. So just join us for that. A little bit about how to keep in touch before orientation. You can email us at orientation@umw.edu. You can give us a call at 654-1061. And you can find us on the socials at UMW NSP. And of course, you can get all of this information on the UMW website, orientation.umw.edu. But if you have any questions, if you're finding like, oh, this is confusing, I'm not really sure, give us a call or shoot us an email. We are happy to answer anything. We know that between many of you graduating right now, you've got your mind on a lot of other things. And some things may not feel very transparent to you. That's perfectly fine. Just give us a call, shoot us an email, and let us help you help walk you through it. We're happy to do that. And so most importantly, just get excited. We are super excited about what is to come and your next steps. And so we are again super excited to welcome you to campus. And so with that, I think I've done with my portion And I know I gave you a lot of information. I know I gave you a lot of information. And it's fine if you didn't collect all of it all at one time. That's why we're recording this, but also that's why we're available.
Definitely why we're recording. Um, Our ladies in the chat have done a great job of keeping up with all of our questions. So currently we don't have any questions in the chat, but if there is something that Dean Jones went over that you need some clarification on, or if you have a general question, and you would like us to help you answer that now, we are happy to stick around for a couple of minutes for any of those additional questions. Just keeping an eye on that Q&A.
Hmm.
Well, I'm really excited for orientation to start next week. I know you guys are too. It's been fun to see the orientation leaders back on campus as they've been going through their training those last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they are so incredibly excited about what is to come. And so it's perfectly fine for students to be, and perfectly normal for our incoming students to be a little bit nervous, but also super excited about next steps. But I got to tell you, you're going to be in great hands with this team of orientation leaders.
Absolutely. So we did have some great questions in here. So where can we get information regarding technology requirements for an incoming first year student? If Faith or Siobhan or Celia, if you can pull the FAQ for new students from the IT Help Desk website, it talks very specifically about recommendations for laptops in there, and we can drop that in that Q&A. But on their website, they have a FAQ for new students coming in and it has a lot of great information. And something else to point out with that is that all students have access to Microsoft Office for free with your UMW email account. So don't go ahead and buy that. You'll get access to 365 with your UMW email account.
And
Just
one of
as a
the
note.
things that we want to make sure that we are really clear about is that many of your students and many students have been using Chromebooks in high school. Chromebooks are not they're not really compatible with Microsoft 365, and really what you need is that Microsoft 365. A PC or a Mac is going to be typically pretty fine for those things, but a Chromebook is not. And so we do like to be really thoughtful about that. In addition, a laptop probably has a little bit more of a capability than a tablet does, particularly if there is anything related to a disability or accommodation. A laptop is going to be your better. So if you're thinking laptop versus tablet, go laptop.
And then can you go over again what the advisor meeting in July is all about?
Sure. The advisor meeting is an opportunity to talk one-on-one to with an advisor to discuss your schedule. Again, next week, each of your students, and if you are a student, you should in your UMW email receive something that says your schedule is ready. And so they are building your schedule right now. So you'll have an opportunity to look at that, but you won't have an opportunity to change it until August 1st. And that's when it becomes open for everyone to change it because everyone will have gone through July advising. So here's an opportunity in July to sit down with your advisor to say, this is what I'm looking at. Does this class fit this? Does it make sense for me to do X, Y, and Z? And that's going to be different for every student. So it's our way of very much personalizing that moment so that you're talking to your advisor about what makes sense in terms of both the short term for what the fall looks like, but then you can have some of those longer term conversations. You can start that longer term conversation as well. So if I'm a student who is looking at environmental science, does it make sense for me to take a biology in the fall semester? If I'm a student who wants to be in history, ultimately, then how can I meet some of those gen eds? And so that is where you can deep dive that as a student. You deep dive that with your advisor in July, and then on August 1st, you can start to make some of those changes. Um, Sarah, did you want to
Yeah, I was just going to jump in and answer the question about housing assignments. So housing assignments will come out at the end of June. I'm talking like June 29th or 30th, guys. So it's going to be the very end of June. So don't reach out June 22nd and be like, Sarah, where's my housing assignment? It's not done yet. So please keep that in mind that it will happen at the end of the month. There was a question in the chat about, is there still time for a student to reach out to potential roommates on Zeme? Technically speaking, housing agreements were due at the end of May. However, if you have not done yours yet, you need to get that in as soon as possible. You can, if you do end up meeting someone during orientation, you can reach out to Residence Life and Housing to speak with them about potentially matching each other up as roommates.
There's another question in the chat. Are we able to change what professor we have for our class after meeting with your advisor? Again, you can. It's based on availability and only after August 1st. That's when it kind of becomes open for everyone. And so it really does depend on whether or not that person has availability in their class and if that class fits with your schedule and with your other classes that you may want to take. So you absolutely have the opportunity to change which section of something you are taking, and that's kind of how we refer to it. So if you're taking Chem one-on-one with this, you're assigned Chem one-on-one with this faculty member, and you want it with this other faculty member, then you can certainly make that shift after August 1st. But it is dependent on availability.
Well, we have caught up once again. So we would like to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Again, this recording will be made available to you. We will send it out. Another question jumped into the Q&A. Is the advisor meeting is happening via Zoom, so they are virtual meetings, so that you don't have to come to campus for that meeting.
And you can be on vacation. But Dr.
Yeah.
Wayne has said that if you're on vacation, she definitely wants you to turn your screen so that she can see the beach too.
Yes.
So feel
Or
free,
wherever your vacation
or
may
wherever
take.
you're vacationing, right?
Yes. You just need to be able to have an internet connection to be
Yep.
able to have your advising meeting, about 30 minutes and an internet connection. So
Yep.
that is always a good tip. Again, we will be sending this recording out to everybody that registered this evening, and we will also make it available to families on our admissions YouTube channel here shortly, and as well on our webinar website, where you can also go and see all of our previously recorded webinars if you were to miss one of them. So,
And one of the questions that has just come in.
yep. Do you want to go ahead and answer that one?
Sure. All of our presentations will be available for parents that can't attend, or anybody who can't attend the orientation sessions. We will make the presentations available, and they're mostly just the PowerPoint. So if you want a little bit more in depth, that's where we would ask that you either see if you could be there or not. If your schedule just doesn't permit, then give us a call. And we're happy to answer any questions that we can for you. We know that you're going to have them over the course of the entire summer. We don't close. We are here the entire summer. So feel free to give us a call. Happy to answer
Awesome.
whatever we can for you.
Thank you, everyone. We hope you have an amazing night.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. I'm gonna stop the recording.